Have you ever wondered how stay-at-home moms make a career pivot? Well, Vicki, today's Unicorn Spotlight is going to give it to you straight. And listen, we're not glamorizing any of the details in today's stories. Vicki started the collective with a 3-month-old and a 1.5-year-old, stealing moments from naps, working until midnight. Her vision to create time and financial abundance pulled her through the really tough times at the beginning to today, where, don't get me wrong, she's still handling it all, but now with a steady paycheck, regular clients, and officially as a coach in the collective. So can't wait for you to get to know Vicki. Let's dive in. Welcome, Vicki. I am so pumped that we are having this conversation.
Awesome. Me too.
When we had our first one-on-one, you were just in the throes of like young motherhood and starting this new career. And I just left that moment so amazed at how you were handling everything. So it has been probably 2 years since that conversation, and so much has shifted.
Yes. Yes, so much has.
Thinking back to your life pre-grant writing, pre-collective, what drew you to seeking a grant writing community?
Sort of the tail end of COVID, I needed to move along from what I was doing prior, which was adjunct teaching, but it was so inconsistent and not really good pay. I didn't know one semester to the next whether or not I would have a job. I wish I remember the exact Google terms, but Googling something like flexible freelance, somehow Learn Grant Writing came up on my search engine. And after watching all of the videos, basically, it just became clear that the career path was for me, but the collective was also for me because of all the support and all of the step-by-step guidance, the community of people. So you're not just sort of left out there hanging by yourself while you're embarking on this totally new path. And Meredith in the videos, and maybe a few other coaches feel like, oh, these are like real people who have really done this and they're really showing us how to do it too. And I just trusted. It felt really authentic to me.
Now you are one of those coaches who are leading a very real life and doing this. So when you joined, what was your definition of success? What were you really trying to do within that first 6 months to a year?
Figure out how to be my own boss and have independence and flexibility that would allow me to also see my children and raise them. And that's really a luxury and a privilege a lot of people don't have, especially because the United States, it's like the only developed nation that doesn't have federal parental leave. And so it is a luxury. I remember sitting on my back porch thinking, okay, I don't have a ton of time to work since I'm full-time with the kids. Like, it would be amazing if I could do 15-hour weeks and make $3,000 a month. That was sort of one of my ideas of what success could look like. And I think that has changed.
What does it look like now?
It looks like I want to make more than $3,000 a month, which thankfully I do.
You make that amount or a little bit more, but how many hours a week are you working?
I want to be a little better at timing exactly how much time I do work per week. It's probably somewhere between like the 15 and 25. It depends on the month and the clients.
You accomplished your vision. When a lot of people come in, they're like, I need to make $3,000 a month. We can often compromise on the other aspect of that vision, which was your hours allotment. You moved both of those boundaries forward.
And then it's more money than that initial goal, which was really great. And probably the first definition of success was making enough money to pay for the course, which happened really quickly. A few funding strategies and you've paid for the entire course. And now it's just profit.
We can go back to that moment where I believe you were knocking on your client's door that hadn't paid you with both kids in tow, because it is such an example of just how incredible moms are.
Towards the beginning, I was super strapped for cash, like overdrawn bank account status. My money didn't arrive in the mail on time, and I was really counting on that. I get on the phone with them and I'm like, there's no time to mail it now because then I have to wait 2 days. I need this today. At that time, it was probably a 1-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, something like that. I end up just have to wake them up, get them ready to go, get them in the car. I'm just like in sweatpants, looking totally frumpy, spit up, all the stuff, crying kids, poopy diapers. I have to get in my car, drive down there, and I start knocking on the door. She doesn't open the door. I've got one kid here, one kid whose hand I'm holding. I'm just starting to get really angry. And I end up just like banging on the door until they finally come. And then she finally opens the door and is sort of like, oh, like, oh, hi. I'm like, anyway, long story short, I end up getting the check. Made me really grateful for the dating step when you take on a new client and doing the funding strategy, because that really showed me that there was absolutely no way I could go forward with that client. I had delivered what I needed to deliver, and that was going to be the end of the relationship. That was very disruptive to my life, even though it seems very minor. It was a very big deal for my day.
I remember you sharing the story and then the action steps that came after that. Not only did it inform that day, but it disrupted the way you looked at clients going forward. You became much more intentional about, I do have these boundaries, and these are real boundaries that matter in my life. And so I can only afford to take on work, afford in the financial sense, but also afford in the emotional, physical time sense to take on clients that will value this relationship as much as I do.
Absolutely. It taught me to be more discerning and just really pick and choose wisely.
Does that feel so long ago?
Feels like a lifetime ago.
You were a stay-at-home mom full-time, very young children, making a career pivot. You had ambitious financial goals, but you also had very real financial goals. How did you fit it all in? Are there tips and tricks that you could look back on and help other women do it?
It was just so much multitasking. That's a tip and a trick that all moms already know about. It's not like a recommendation per se, because I don't necessarily enjoy it. It's hard to not be able to just focus on one thing. If we were out like on a stroller walk or something, I would listen to the course like that. I would listen to it in the car if I was driving somewhere with the kids. Of course, work during naps, work after bedtime. There were moments where some of my first informational interviews, I was so desperate to be able to get those interviews because I knew that was the first step. Because I had no choice, I ended up having to schedule some of them when I actually didn't have childcare. There's all these ideas of what's professional and what's not. And sadly, we live in a world where having kids next to you is deemed unprofessional in a lot of ways. So I remember I had a few info interviews, had my newborn. I would put him out of the picture, like in a little bouncer. But if I sensed he was going to start crying, I would like pick him up and like start nursing him under the camera so that they couldn't see. So he'd be quiet. Yeah. Just all of these crazy thing, because it just had to make it happen. I really needed to move forward and get clients and move along.
But what is the big vision here that's moving you forward? That's saying all of these late nights, all of these stolen moments, all of this nursing below the camera is worth it. Like, what is that thing drawing you forward?
Time abundance. Because I am work to live type, but I'm maybe a little different because I don't want to be just on a shoestring. I want to have some financial abundance as well. But ultimately, I want to work in a way that gives me a comfortable amount of money, but doesn't take all of my time. And that's another thing that drew me to this. The potential compensation, as long as you're charging what the value of what you're delivering. So I think that time abundance, so I can be with my family and pursue my own personal things that aren't work related.
How you helped this workload become more sustainable for you?
I have a job with a grant writing firm right now. And so what I'm getting compensated through that job allows me to start paying for childcare, which I wasn't doing before. And I can use that time to do my work. Right now, it makes sense to pay for childcare because I am making enough to pay for the childcare and above. I'm in a position where I'm going to be able to start paying for a little bit more as well to give me more time to work, which is sort of what my current goal is to figure out how to work more during normal person's working hours.
Do you still feel like you're getting the time that you wanted with your kiddos?
Yeah, I'm with them. I'm still with them a lot, which is great.
You mentioned that you hadn't even written a grant by the time that you got hired by this grant consulting firm. Do you want to talk about that interview process or imposter syndrome going into that or anything related to that?
One of the main reasons that went well and I ended up being able to contract with them was because I had done all of the preparation steps that I'd been taught through Learn Grant Writing. I was up front with them. I told them that I've written things, but not necessarily a grant. And I know, how to do the grant research. And I prepared for the interview. I think in Circle, I reached out to the community to ask for thoughts on what people thought they might ask me in the interview. I did a lot of preparation. And, of course, during the interview, I'm in a room in my house, and in the other part of the house, I can hear my kids screaming. So I'm just trying to block that out as I'm interviewing. It ended up being okay. It's a really wonderful small group that I work with. So
I just appreciate your realness so much. I could not imagine you're in this interview. You want everything to be super quiet and in control. And the reality is life isn't controllable, and that's happening right next to you.
I really wanted to be hired and to work with the
Yeah.
firm, and I was just
Yeah.
hoping that they couldn't hear the kids
Yeah.
screaming, because I could hear them screaming mom, and I just pretend it's not there.
I'm so proud of you. Often when we think of grant writing jobs, we think about, okay, I'm going to be hired by this nonprofit, or I'm going to be hired by this city, and I'm going to be their on-staff grant writer. And then we think of having our own consulting firms, but you have blended the two. So you have a grant writing job with a consulting firm. What do you get to do as a grant writer within a firm?
The firm, they find the clients for us, which is really great. And we work on a team. So we work with 2 consultants per client. And I love working in a team, always having somebody to bounce something off of, helping each other with edits. I take on mostly writing, while the other person that I work with will do a lot of the other stuff, like the grants calendar, the email communication, relationship maintaining with the clients. It's a nice balance. And I currently have 3 clients. They're all on the East Coast, and that's the great thing about virtual work. I can work with clients anywhere. So one of them is a hygiene security organization. Sweet. Yeah, really important work, distributing like essential hygiene products for free. Another one is a essential non-medical breast cancer support organization that provides all of these essentials like meals and childcare and housekeeping for people who are receiving breast cancer treatment. And then another one brings healthy and safe play opportunities into elementary schools. They're all really interesting. They're all really different, but I like it. And it's a good workload. I feel like when you have multiple clients, it can be tricky to keep all of the information separate. It's a lot when you're learning about an organization. You have to learn so much about them to be able to write the grants. And I think there's only a certain capacity for that, for how much you can take in. I couldn't do that with 6 clients if I was doing it alone. It would be just so much to manage in my brain.
There's so much going on, and you're very right of like adding more clients to that workload creates less time for deep work.
Absolutely.
Let's do some rapid fire questions. What is one word to describe your dream lifestyle?
Time abundant.
Next vacation spot?
La Paz, Mexico.
Beautiful. With kids, sans kids?
With kids.
Favorite podcast?
The Dig.
What are you reading right now?
Black Women Taught Us.
Oh, that sounds fabulous. Last TV show you binged?
How to Get Away with Murder.
What's your superpower?
Foresight.
Yep, I agree. What is one of the things that you're most proud of from this journey?
At the beginning, I don't really know how it happened even. Being able to just do informational interviews and get my first couple of clients, even though that's when I was making the least amount of money, I think I'm most proud of that, because just with kids and life and a parent passing away and just launching a new career, it was a lot at the same time.
I couldn't agree more. And I know that we saw a very small glimpse of the incredible amount of work that you did in those beginning days. And all of us were constantly like, oh my gosh, did you see what Vicki did this week? Like, do you see Vicki's progress? Like, it was just incredible to know that you were out there making this huge difference, not only in the communities that you're serving, but really in your life and in your kids' lives. I know we had one of the first conversations was, what does having financial abundance look like? And how do we release the things that we've been constructed to say, like, we don't deserve that, or that's too much, that's an excess, and reframe that. I remember you talking about your goals so well and what you wanted to provide for your kids. We just knew, like, this is a woman we want to support to very big wealth creation. So I'm so glad you're on that journey.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing, life-changing, finding the collective, and happy to be in the role of coach as well right now. It's really fun.
We're so excited. Well, thank you so much for sharing bits of your story. Thank you for your realness and your vulnerability. We so appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate all of you too.